down now, can't you hear the sound of greed? Seeds breed bloody money. Statutory wise guys think we live by a spin of lies. Frostbite, oversight, underwater, hot or blood, I say so, no snow. Roaches rule the rim, head inserted, heat inverted, never breathe again. Beat you, beat me, main course celebrity 3D. Television, hate surrounds, confounds, compounds, erodes, strode, frontal lobe. Red pills, blue pills, morning buns ablaze with glaze. Sugar-coated, body bloated, reservation empty. Seething, acrimonious, eavesdropping, Orwell's sensory sight. Online screen time, gray cells undermine, download, jet set, stratospheric credit check, joystick simulation, private setting, fabrication, mind-sucking, soul-sapping avenue. Batten down the hatches, tighten up the junk, dig the punk, hip hop, sing a mighty song. There'll be no hiding, we surviving, rising from a wasted sea. Me, see you, visionary, ever present, moving at the speed of trees.
Richie Lawrence on Radio Bristol from his new album, Moving at the Speed of Trees. InFable, that is spelled INFABLE. Richie joins us from Sacramento, California, to talk about the album and that song without violating any FCC regulations. Can you talk about the meaning behind that? Because the lyrics are kind of dense, man. You got to listen to it a couple of times to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. It's a pandemic. It was written during the pandemic. And, during that time, I think I can speak for most people, the variety of emotions that went through that time, sitting at home by yourself or with your family. Politics and the environment and the food we eat and the internet and all of the things that I just got really angry about. And so essentially that's where the song is based. It ends with the title, Moving at the Speed of Trees, and which I think of that as sort of the long game, being in it for the long game, faced with any sort of adversity that we come across, politically, culturally, in the family relationships, the perseverance and love that you've got to just stick with and move gradually and forward. That's essentially the song.
And the album title, once again, Moving at the Speed of Trees, is an admonition to slow down, take it easy, and thereby enjoy life a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. There is that. Smell the roses, if you will, and enjoy life as it is. So yeah, it's certainly that's in there as well.
And tell me about the novel from which you take the phrase moving at the speed of trees, the novel Overstory by Richard Powers.
Yeah, it's a book essentially about a group of environmental activists and their journey into, I don't know, their own trouble in the world. And they, they are certainly moving at the speed of trees in their fight. And, whether you are with them or against them, again, it's facing a very difficult task and with perseverance and love, really.
Tell me about the production of this album. You recorded live in the studio?
Yes, it was a joy because certainly coming out of the pandemic era, so much stuff was done at home and piecemeal, and that's the beauty of technology today. On the one hand, is that you can send files, or people can send you files, and you can record over their file and send it back and forth and compile a song. But coming out of the that time frame, I was able to get together with players in Los Angeles who I knew, having lived there for 14 years, and be in the studio. So Sean Norris, who former Icy Hawks in LA, and he has a studio. So I was there and brought several rhythm sections in and to do live, and then I was able to. So I would record with a keyboard live, and then I did do some overdubs at my house on an acoustic piano and some vocals. But it was such a joy to just be with people in the studio, and it creates such a great vibe.
It certainly is a stellar group of performers you brought together for this album, including bandmates from Icy Hawks in L.A., Tony Gilkison of X and Lone Justice. And was it difficult to get these folks together in the studio?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I did know everybody. I mean, some certainly more closely than others, but it was, I did want to mention Paul Lax from Icy Hawks in LA. And I met him very early on when I moved to LA in 1980. And as I moved up to Sacramento, he was starting Icy Hawks in LA, and I've played with them on most of their records, I think, except for the first one, and toured with them when it all worked out. He passed away in January of '94, just as we were starting the record. And so not only did I know everyone, but they knew Paul and had worked with Paul, and it was really very healing in a way to bring everyone together and play music and think of him and shed some tears and some memories and laugh and play. And so it all came together pretty easily, I would say.
Talking with Richie Lawrence on Radio Bristol. He joins us from Sacramento, California, to talk about his new album, Moving at the Speed of Trees. Now, this is your fourth solo album, and you decided to start making your own records, what, in 2010?
Yeah. I was in LA from 1980 to '94 and moved up here and uh, played with a band, Horse Sense. So it was, I had worked so closely with Paul in LA, writing with him, it really gave me an opportunity to focus on my own writing and playing. And yeah, and when was it? Yeah, 2010, I think, started uh, making my own records.
And on this new album, you wrote most of the songs, but there are a few co-writes, including one with your wife.
Yes, co-wrote the song Isla with Katie, and I love that song. I love her vocal on it, and started just with an idea. A friend that we knew who has a coffee shop and tea. They sell coffee and tea, roast their own stuff, and started with the idea of her, but it went to another place, and so I just really love that song, how that came out.
And on one of the co-writes, your wife performs lead vocal.
Yeah, that's right. Leaving You, written with Paul Lax, and it goes back to a band called Rotondi in the 80s, a wacky theatrical polka band of all things, and written also with Robin Ginsburg, who was in the play Rotondi. Was happy to. There were two songs that I had written with Paul. Also, the Wonderful Waltz was on the record, and I was very happy to include both of those on this album.
Sorry to say, oh, and that was the way. Alone in the breeze we were dancing, turning from you with my heart turning blue. I look at the sky through red windows. One lonely day just like over the sea, lost like your smile in the millions. Memory sinks like a stone in green fields. 26 clouds and I won't turn around. Ooh, ooh, heaven so blue as I, ooh, leaving you. Ooh, heaven so blue as I, ooh, leaving you. Heaven so blue, somewhere above the clouds. I will love you, way up above the clouds. Heaven so blue, way up above the clouds. Sorry to say, oh, and that was the way. Alone in the breeze we were dancing, turning from you with my heart turning blue. I look at the sky through red windows. Ooh, heaven so blue as I, ooh, leaving you. Ooh, heaven so blue as I, ooh, leaving you.
Leaving You on Radio Bristol from the new album by Richie Lawrence, Moving at the Speed of Trees, lead vocal by Richie's wife, Katie. Richie joining us from Sacramento, California to talk about this new record. Richie, you mentioned this song goes back to the days of a group you were in called Rotundi, which was a polka group, basically, and a theatrical experience and an award-winning group.
Yeah, we won some. It was the Drama Log was the main theatrical group. I don't know what you would call it. Organization that handed out awards in Los Angeles for theater, and because Rotondi started out as a theater piece, as a play, And so we garnered awards there. And it was so theatrical that it really worked for TV. So we did, I don't know, Joan Rivers show and Crime Story with Michael Mann. And so that was sort of the 15 minutes I got of fame. And it was all downhill from there. But, one carries on at the speed of trees, if you will.
Well, let's talk a little more history here. Your first recording as a session musician was, in the early 80s in L.A. on an album that was produced by John McPhee of the Doobie Brothers, and all the Doobies played on the record.
Yes, all the Doobie Brothers ended up on it, and I had moved from Colorado at that time, and Tim Goodman was the artist, and he was knew all the Doobie Brother guys, and I also mentioned Nicky Hopkins was on that record, which was a thrill just to be mentioned in the same breath as him. So it was a lot of fun. I felt like the little fish with the big dogs, and there were some great players, great session players who had already done great stuff and continued. So that was a good introduction to Los Angeles.
When you were talking there, I was thinking of Nicky Hopkins, the man who turned down Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, exactly that. What a great player. And I was just thinking of him and on the first Jeff Beck record. That was so great. I still listen to that record, but he's done a lot of good stuff.
Was there an intimidation factor going into the studio with those guys, or did they make you feel at ease?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was a pro, and everybody had probably, they started somewhere, and getting comfortable with the studio and working with players. And so, yeah, I mean, they were very welcoming, and also there was an intimidation factor, no doubt. I wouldn't deny that. Tristan Bowden, who went on to play with Chicago, and he played with Kenny Loggins and all these people. And who else was there? Willie Weeks and Mark Andes, who played with Spirit and a bunch of people. And so there was some intimidation going on. We would start to record, and then suddenly John McPhee would come over the intercom and say, "Oh, Richie, by the way, don't mess this up." And of course, everyone would laugh. So, they were messing with me, but you got to roll with it.
Richie Lawrence on Radio Bristol. His new album is Moving at the Speed of Trees. He's joining us from Sacramento, California. Richie, you are originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I understand that you have still the 1917 Steinway piano that was in your home as a child.
Yeah, my grandparents, who were from Texas and Arkansas, they came into some dough in like 1915 and started buying stuff. So they bought this 1917 A3 Steinway and passed it along to my father, who played. And he never played professionally, but he a beautiful player, wonderful style, and really, I mean, the more I think about it, the more influence he had on me and my playing. So yeah, that piano, and then my parents passed on, and I inherited the piano, and I wasn't sure if I would keep it or not, or trade it in for something, but I got it and had it rebuilt, and it is a beautiful instrument. So I'm still playing it to this day, and it shows up on this new album.
Growing up in Tulsa, what music surrounded you? What did you listen to?
Well, there was everything was there. My formative years, if you will, were in the 60s. So there was all of that stuff, the British stuff and the band and the Byrds and Dylan and everybody. But then at the same time, Tulsa was a real confluence of travel at times, a lot of big band, jazz would go through there, and the radio was filled with country music. Bob Wills, Tulsa was at one point said to be the home of Bob Wills at Kane's Ballroom there. And so, rock and roll and jazz and country music were all prevalent and very influential on me. I mean, as they say, I think it was, who was it? Duke Ellington, I believe, was asked about the Beatles. What do you think of the Beatles? And he said, well, there's two kinds of music, good and bad. So I try to go with the good stuff, and and that includes a lot of music. So I've always enjoyed that. And I think my record is very eclectic and is reflective of that broad appreciation, I think.
Let's talk about another song on your new album, Moving at the Speed of Trees. On the Boat, a song about immigration generally, but with a very specific story.
Yeah. I mean, it's twofold. Certainly, it is the story of my grandfather, essentially, and his experience coming over. He did come over from Liverpool in 1903, went through Ellis Island, ended up in Lenox, Massachusetts, did work in the stables, met his wife, my grandmother, who was from Germany. She was working as a maid in the house. And he then did go and work for an arms factory. So I don't know how we lost track of him at some point, so I don't know how he died, and I don't know exactly why he left Ireland, but so that's his story. And then along with that, I did want to make it somewhat general to speak to just the immigration today and the difficulty. I don't claim to have the answer for that, but it's been a problem probably since the Mayflower hit America. So it's not going to go away. And there's all sorts of interesting solutions going on. But it's an issue, no doubt. And everyone has their story and their side. And I did want to speak to that as well.
The Oceanic, freedom crossed the sea. I toast the land I could not stand, although she beauty be. Lots of food for thought, you see, but none for family. Board the Oceanic, cross the sea. As I leave my only home, I think of you and me. Your broken heart, love torn apart, a child upon the way. I'd rather seal my heart than steal another day. Take what's mine and stow myself away. Packed upon the railing, we see ideals held high. Does she speak for everyone, or merely privileged lies of opportunity where greener grasses grow? If we do not leave, we'll never know. Found myself in Lenox, found my options few. I chose to work the stables, as that was something I could do, to lift myself from poverty and down a pint or two. Oh, I love the horses as they act the way they do. It's the owners I don't care for and never do. I met a woman there to start my life anew. We shared a type of loneliness that strangers sometimes do. She seemed so very like myself and yet so different too. The beginning and the end of us, another passing dream. Sorrow's sure is sorrow unforeseen. Jobs were open, building arms to reinforce the cause. It kept me out of trouble, and arms reached from the law. Somehow they always used me, no matter how I tried. They seemed to need me and despise me, all to suck me dry. Gone and left my motherland, and you're my country now. Maybe not so different anyhow. Men fight as men will. I'm called to serve this land. I'll step up and give myself and hope you understand that if I give my life to you, will you treat me as a man and show my children every love and opportunity, or board the oceanic across the sea? Show my children every love and opportunity, or board the oceanic across the sea.
Richie Lawrence on Radio Bristol from his new album, Moving at the Speed of Trees on the Boat. Richie joining us from Sacramento, California. Let's close out with another song off the new record, an instrumental named for a poet. And I've often wondered, for instrumentals, in writing an instrumental, do you have an image in your mind or a story that you want to tell that you can only do through the music, or a feeling that you want to convey, and lyrics would just not be needed?
Well, I found that, I write music. People often ask, do you write the lyric or the music first? And that's really, it doesn't follow necessarily in that way. And so when I'm noodling about looking for music and melody and flow, I don't know if it's going to be an instrumental or a lyric piece. So it just kind of, it develops. And in this case, it just turned out to be, I thought, a beautiful melody and a piece unto itself. And I don't love writing words. It's a lot of work for me and takes time. So I was sort of relieved that I didn't have to write any words for this one. And I do love instrumental music. And at the time I was reading a fair amount of Emily Dickinson, whose poetry I love. And so it just kind of naturally kind of went that way.